What is flash fiction? How do we write flash fiction? Is flash fiction difficult or is it easy? We're going to be talking about all that and more in today's video. So make sure you stick around. We're going to be going over strategies, tips, common mistakes, and things to help you craft your next flash fiction story. I'm Kaufman. I'm a daily writing streamer. I've streamed for 500 consecutive days. Writing is a process, but with a community, it is made so much easier. So make sure to stick around because we're starting right now. Flash fiction is generally any piece of writing that's under 1,000 words. Sometimes a lot of competitions and writing formats will say that flash fiction can be pushed up to 1,500 words max. You have less words to tell the story that you want to tell. You still got to get character development, you still got to get world building, and you still got to plot, but you got like 5 pages to do it. Flash fiction tends to be a single moment or a few single moments interwoven together. It's got to be tight and it's got to be punchy. Otherwise, you're going to lose your reader immediately. Every word matters. A clear character, conflict, your character's changing, and clarity. Character. You gotta have one main, clearly defined character. Every single time you add another character in a story, you have to invest more time to set up the character, to make them likable or make them not likable. I always recommend focusing on one character. But if you're like, hey, what about romance? I want to write a romance story. I want 2. That's all right. I've seen some flash fiction stories well told with 3, 4, even 5 characters, but it's hard to do. The second one is conflict. You got to have a clear, single, overarching conflict. If your conflict is not clear and it doesn't lead us into the single moment of tension, you're going to lose your reader. You don't have to make it obvious from the beginning, but when the conflict happens, it has to be impactful in whatever type of genre you are writing your story in. Remember, conflict doesn't have to be a fight. Conflict is contingent on the genre and the type of story that you are telling. Change. In a normal short story or in a novel, your character can go through all these different beats. All of your story beats, your opening moment, your midpoint, your climax, your resolution. You got like half a page to do each of these beats. Maybe 1 page for the climax if you're really focusing on that climactic moment. You have to be able to show that the character is changing from beat to beat in 1 to 3 sentences at a time. Maybe 1 paragraph, maybe 2. There are so many ways to do this. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you my strategy, what's worked for me when crafting a flash fiction story and doing change. The 4th important element that I think of all flash fiction is clarity. In our heads, sometimes we're crafting this really cool story and it makes sense, but then when we write it on paper, it's not fully clear on what type of story we're trying to tell. We had this really cool idea, but this really cool idea just got squished down to this little ball where, oh, well, yeah, it's kind of a cool idea, but we weren't able to tell all the things. In a short story, it probably would have been a great idea, but now we've crushed it down. So we don't get to explore all the moments. And now it's not clear what's going on because we don't have the words to go into depth on how this is a clear story. I've critiqued live of almost 200 stories. Common mistake number 1, and this is the biggest thing I see writers do all the time. I used to make this mistake, trying to do too much. We come up with these really cool stories in our heads. We're so used to writing longer stories. We're so used to consuming media that is of a much longer content when it comes to storytelling. We're used to seeing TV shows that are at least 30 minutes to an hour. We're used to seeing movies that are an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we always think like, yeah, there's these really cool ideas that I can explore, but then we end up biting off too much. I see writers do this all the time. They try to explore a story that's just not the best fit for a flash fiction. And the way this comes across, there's a level of complexity that feels like it can get lost because there's so many different story elements that would be better served in a short story. If you feel like you want to explore a complex story that's really cool, you have to ask yourself, how many story elements are you going to explore? Break it down and ask yourself, how long is it going to take me to set up this character? How long is it going to take me to explore this plot? Can you do it in a sentence? Can you do it in a paragraph? If it takes more than half a page to explore, about 150 words on average, how many times can you do that and can you safely explore? Unless you're exploring the climax, which is going to be like the biggest part of the moment, that is something you want to keep in mind. Relying too heavily on exposition. If we're going to be exploring an action, rely on the senses. But because this is flash fiction, what's the one sense that's really going to make the moment impactful? smelling, hearing, touch, taste. Pick one sense for flash fiction and really play into that. Another common mistake I see, no clear arc, no clear character arc. How is your character going through a journey? The flash fiction is exploring the moment that the character is changing because you don't have that much time. You want to make sure that the character's moments of change is still clear. Use a beginning, middle, ending technique. I coined this the beamy technique. How does the hero start? How do they hit that middle, right? Midpoint. And then how do they hit the ending? Climax, resolution. What is another common mistake? Flat endings with no impact. This goes into the twist. Generally, you want your flash fiction to have some type of twist. You want it to be memorable. You want your reader to have walked out of this reading experience with some type of impact. Now, in a short story or a novella or a novel, you have the time to explore all these moments. But on a flash fiction, you got one shot. The twist has to be impactful. That ending has to be emotional. And remember, anything that we're trying to accomplish in our storytelling is to get the reader to feel something. And I guarantee you, if you get your reader to feel something in 5 pages or less, they're going to remember that moment. We remember when things make us feel a way. And if we're caught by a twist in a 5-page story that we were not expecting, your reader will want to read more. And then they might ask, oh, well, what else is this author writing? Are you enjoying the video? Follow and subscribe. I come out with all styles of videos. How to be a better writer. What are the mistakes that all writers make? How to improve your author blurb. How to do rough drafts. How to stay motivated. We do some writing tips. We do writing process and lifestyle. There's over 600 videos on the channel. If you want help just to be a better writer, make sure to follow and subscribe. First off, cut the fluff. Don't add all these extra words. And remember, rough draft, have fun, do all the things, do whatever you want. But by the final draft, go through it with the toothpick. Every word has to contribute to the character, the conflict, how the character's changing. If you're doing a character with a complex background, the character story is going to have to be immediately clear. Any rule can be broken, but we got to figure out the basics first, and we got to figure out how to do the stuff before we break the rules. Otherwise, we try to break the rules, and then the story just doesn't make sense. How do you form flash fiction for prompts? Let's say that you're going to be putting yourself in a flash fiction competition, and the competition you're competing in has a prompt. There's a number of different ways to be able to tackle prompts, but there's a few things you want to think about. First off, who is grading it? And what is the grading system designed around, right? You want to adhere to the grading system as well as possible. So if you get a prompt that's having you basically leverage some type of theme or some type of character moment, or it's having you leverage certain items or emotions or certain things, you want to ask, how can I explore this theme or this character or this item or this thing as well as possible? It means that let's say it's a theme. Your story, your character development, your world building, and your plot should focus around this thing. Now, does that mean like beat them on the head and tell them all about the theme? No. It means that you should be exploring this theme through the twist. If you're using my strategy, right? How is the twist going to best serve this theme? Or how is it going to best serve this item or this character or this plot beat? How are you going to best explore it to serve the grading system? So that's the first thing you want to ask yourself. How are you going to go about the grading system? And then what is another strategy? Lay out what your different options are and ask yourself this. Is the best way to explore this prompt, whether it's thematically, whether it's items or whatever it is the best way to explore this prompt through more character development? Is the best way to explore it through more world building? Or is the best way to explore it through more plot? And maybe you'll say, yeah, maybe a healthy mix of all three of them. I would recommend picking a lane and prioritizing one. Now, I'm not saying write a story all character development and get rid of the plot and the world building. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying emphasize one because you're going to be able to spend a little bit more time. How are you going to get your reader to care? Are you going to get them to care because you're going to create the most complex, coolest character ever? And then the plot's going to be interesting and the world building will be interesting. Or are you going to take the reader on this like twisted plot journey where they've never experienced this plot? And then they're like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. And then bang, twist. I would never expect that to happen. Right? Or are you going to set them up with like the coolest world that they've ever experienced? They've never experienced this world. And then the twist is the world itself. Now, I'll be honest. it's a little harder to emphasize world building because it's harder for readers to connect emotionally if it's not a character or a plot mechanic, but it can be done, right? Rules are meant to be broken. Play by the rules first and then challenge yourself. How can I do something different? So, those are the two strategies or two ways I would go about looking about prompts. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way to go about dealing with writing prompts, especially with flash fiction. But the more planning you have, and the more you treat it based on whatever the competition or source is, the more likely you're set up for success. The Trollocs ghost. Fraggin' trolls! He roared, slamming an oversized hairy fist on the table. The moss-covered couch trembled, the table ornaments bounced, and the therapy dolls fell. I hate them whiny little hellspawn. His other fist clenched. The inflatable coffee mug. Steaming hot coffee dripped over the side, spilling down his fingers and splashing on the wood floor. It's all their fault! Need I remind you, Mr. Locke? Your actions are the precise reason. Shut up, you fraggin' ghost! The room took on a deadly silence that would cause death to raise an eyebrow. All sounds of terror, strife, and bloodshed in the distance ceased. Bats dispersed from dead branches outside the window. Colors drained from all corners of the small, industrious room. Blinding blue, black, and white lights filled the space, emanating from shadows unseen. The therapist rose just above ground level. Not a ghost! The Trolloc quaked in his oversized warrior boots, obviously purchased from Troll Bay. Every inch of his bare-chested body, too brawny for the wolfskin vest and leggings, shivered as he set the mug carefully on the table. The giant beast of a Trolloc clapped his freshly manicured hands together and tapped them against his dual-horned helmet. Another purchase from Orkazon. Apologies, Mr. Banshee, Sir Ma'am, Madam Banshee. Instantaneously, lights dispersed, colors reemerged, and sound returned to the world. A wolf howl off in the distance broke the silence. The therapist hovered back to ground level, adjusted her reading glasses, and brushed off the translucent midnight blue suit dress. Madam Banshee has a nice ring to it. Pausing to reproduce a notepad which rematerialized out of thin air. That is settled. Where were we, Mr. Locke? The Trolloc groaned, sprawling his muscular arms over the back of the couch. It's not my fault they acted like thieving little pixies. I can't be held responsible for the actions of things with wings, or tails, or brains. Scratch that. The ghoul fellow had more brains than a lot of them. Madame Banshee sighed, leaving her notes to hang midair. Do you think this is a game, Mr. Locke? Her icy blue eyes flickered behind the protective lenses. Hellspawn, yeah, this is like a game of horn or not, but I'm the unicorn. I hate unicorns, Mr. Locke snorted from his giant snout as he picked out a loose tooth. With a wave of her hand, an image, conjured from the aether, appeared in the space between them, like a two-way film viewable from both sides. The image clouded along the borders, tethering it to this reality. The Trolloc snorted. One of his nose rings flapped lazily. Don't try to frighten me with that therapist mumbo-jumbo. Trollocs don't scare. He rubbed the back of his neck and craned his head. Hovering inches from his face, Madame Banshee whispered, Boo! Ah! Mr. Locke jumped, fell, banged his head on the table, and plopped to the ground. The ornaments and therapy dolls landed around him. To top it off, the mug of coffee bounced over, dumping the steaming hot liquid. Legs crossed and returning to her spot, Madame Banshee lifted a finger as the Trolloc rose from the floor. He plopped back on the couch, one horn steaming, the other a hook for the empty mug. The Trolloc crossed his arms and snorted with disdain. Expect the council, Madame Banshee counted with each flickering finger. Vampire, werewolf, ghoul, minotaur, and unicorn to judge you for being exactly who you are. Nearly inaudible, she mouthed, a troll. Mr. Locke stuck out his tongue, spitting at the image, revealing the Council of Five. The argument brief, the image flashed a haunting blue, revealing the Trolloc standing before them, arms flailing with demonstration. The evidence long, the image flashed a haunting black, revealing an elf, wizard, pixie, nymph, and hobbit, pointing at him in unison. And the judgment swift. Madame Banshee continued with a wave of one hand, face neutral and with a grim voice. The punishment quick. The image revealed the Trolloc being bitten and drained by thousands of bats, eaten by werewolves, buried by ghouls, and dismembered by minotaurs. And the pain eternal. The image flickered to the bodiless head of the Trolloc crying. A unicorn with eyes of multicolored wonder, horn pointed, made bright lights become shadows. Like a distant memory. Tormented screams echoed from beyond the veil. A snap of the fingers permeated the space between them. The clouded image dispersed, returning to the aether. With a sigh, Madame Banshee glanced to the window beyond. The moon cast long shadows from the empty graves. Mr. Locke's face was a ghastly white, eyes wide. Politely, he retrieved the therapy troll and returned it to the table. He shakily retrieved the coffee mug from atop his horn as the steaming hot liquid refilled within. A sip brought back confidence and colored his rough cheeks. His chattering teeth stopped. Fake lore. His chest puffed out. Myths for chumps. His confidence fast returning. Tall tale. With each word his composure regained. Council. Theater. The Trolloc smirked, head tipping forward. Ghost. Story. What did you call me? Wait, not! Sound vanished. Color drained, lighting ominous. Couch gone. Madame Banshee grew to thrice her size, filling the room. Her eyes, blazing blue infernos of terror. The Trolloc looked small and insignificant in the palm of her hand, like a wounded animal or a stuffed toy. Does death demand? She screeched. The Trolloc's tiny head wobbled back and forth profusely, like a bobblehead toy, as his near, muted screams repeated a single word. Lightning dispersed, color returned, sound filled the space. Mr. Locke sat on the couch, trembling. Madame Banshee fished in the air for a pocket watch. She tapped the ephemeral object, noting the reflection of the maze from the window beyond. It vanished. With hands clasped, her gaze returned. Settled. Where were we? With folded arms, the Trolloc dropped his head back against the couch. He snorted. Again. Miss Madame Banshee's pale blue lips smirked. Elf got your tongue, Mr. Locke? Them pointy ears ganged up on me. Or the wizards, two-rate magicians. And our flying, thieving pixies. The forest. Nymphs can blow me. Madame Banshee waited patiently, eyes flickering. With a flattened hand, she raised it to waist level, accompanied by a questioning look. Mr. Locke spat. No one cared about the midgets until they started wearing rings. Madame Banshee waited patiently, tapping her fingertips together, ignoring the dirt beneath her nails. The Trolloc sprang to his feet, kicking the stuffed therapy warlock out of the way. Tossing his arms around wildly, he shouted, They ganged up on me! I can only be a Trolloc! Elves troll behind logic, wizards troll behind magic, pixies troll behind tricks, nymphs troll behind looks, and hobbits just... He stopped, flung his arms wide and roared, I hate ghosts! Sound vanished, color drained, lighting ominous. I am... The Trolloc exploded in a puff of cotton balls and feathers, flying in all directions. The therapy room returned to normal. The feathers from the troll doll floated down around her. A lone feather settled atop the warlock doll, a gentle reminder of her single greatest fear. Feather, doll, fake. Madame snapped, and the room reset. Fake powers for crimes long forgotten. Madame snapped in the room. Fake reality for pain long remembered. Madame snapped. Fake patience for guilt long inflicted. Crimes, pain, guilt. Madame clutched her head, but her hands passed through the ephemeral form. Only one reflection ever drew her attention. The window beyond reflected bats whose bites forever plenty. A howl echoed in the distance, their teeth tangibly terrible. The window beyond reflected graves for all her time spent digging. Trapped by the maze of time, the window beyond reflected the moon's light becoming shadows. Madame drifted to the floor, distraught, depressed, defeated. A ghost of her former self. She flickered above the ground and allowed herself to cry. With palms raised, she lifted her pale blue arms head high. Into the void, Madame cried, I am a ghost. The tears on her cheeks weren't ephemeral, but the rest of her had been for some time. She swept her arm before her as the feathers and cotton vacuumed back into her hand, reforming the troll doll in one hand and the warlock in the other. Thank you. Mr. Locke. She set them down beside the other therapy dolls, the elf eternal and wise, the wizard old and curious, the pixie quick and clever, the nymph caring and kind, and the hobbit small but mighty. Madame bowed, feeling the tiny cold droplets against her cheeks one last time. I forgive you and I release. She dispersed into the void. And yes, this is goodbye. This is my strategy when coming up with any flash fiction story that will help you the next time that you're developing a flash fiction story for any format. It is all about the twist. I form all my flash fiction stories around a key inviting twist. I, as a writer, like to subvert expectations. So I like to challenge, okay, if the reader is expecting this thing, what is the last thing that they're going to expect? And you saw I did that a number of times throughout the story. And I think 70% of the time it worked. I think there were a couple things that I should have just made a little bit more obvious. And that was less style. That was just me trying to do it differently. I played around with a lot of the punctuation, right? I purposely played around with the parentheses and ellipses, and I wanted to see if I could play with it differently. And I think the parentheses challenge to myself actually worked, but I asked myself, so the strategy, what is the twist of your story going to be? Start with the twist, work out there. The reason being, if our goal with a piece of flash fiction is to make a reader feel the thing, then the moment of the story that we want the reader to feel the most impacted, we want them to feel the most inspired, hopeful, traumatized, hurt, loving, whatever emotion you want them to explore is the climax. And we generally explore that climax with a twist. If your reader is reading the story and they are not expecting it, and they get to that twist and you actually surprise them and they are invested in the story development, they will be impressed because the reader is going to think, how did they tell a good story in 5 pages? They're going to be impressed that you were able to hook them in and pull them in and then surprise them in a way that was rewarding in such a short period of time. So start with the twist. What is the twist of your story? What's the twist that you've never heard this type of twist before? You've never experienced it. And remember, it has to be a twist in a single moment, right? For Trollocs Ghost, the twist was that the Trolloc wasn't really a Trolloc, right? Really, he was a therapy doll. Now, did that work? I might be a little debatable since I spent so much time really building the Trolloc up, while trying to subvert expectation that it was really about the ghost, really about Madame Banshee. I think some people have said that it really works, and some people have like, okay, well, mixed because they like the Trolloc. So you really want to make sure that your twist is impactful and that it feels like it is well deserved. Why for me, for Trollocs Ghost, did it feel like it could go either way? It's because I spent time building up character development in Trolloc, which is something that I hadn't anticipated because I had so much fun creating this Trolloc character, right? So I invested more character development and trying to be clever. And then the twist, debatable. So the twist, I guarantee you, if you do a short story and your reader is not expecting the twist and they go out of it and they're like, wow, they will love the story. If you're gotten a lot of value, if you've gotten a lot of value out of this video and you're getting like so much value out of like how you craft flash fiction, but you're like, hey, this isn't enough. I'm still trying to figure out how to be a writer, or I want to improve at character development, or I want to improve at writing the blurb for my story, or all these different story elements, you should check out the Writing Tips for Beginners playlist. Now, this is linked down in the YouTube description. This is actually our most popular videos on the WriteNow channel. Like I said, almost 600 videos on the channel. These are some of our most popular videos as viewed by you, the community. These are some of the most popular videos, and these ones are prioritized around writing craft and ways to help you be a better writer. Maybe you have been a community member for a while and you saw some of these videos, but some of them, maybe it's been a while, and some of these refreshers might help you. So go check out the Writing Tips for Beginners playlist. I'll link it here and see if I can queue it up on a flashcard here. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this video helped you. If you're looking for more tips to help you be a better writer, like I said, click on that playlist right there. And I make sure I was like, no, click on this playlist right here. If you want to subscribe to the WriteNow channel, click right here. That's all I got for you today, my friends. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you in the next video.